I'm thinking 800 to 1,200 bucks. I don't know, $1,000. Is that what the PS costs?
You're spoken like a Grammy winner.
I mean, I'm just taking a wild stab at it. What is it?
Hey, folks, welcome once again. We're super excited to be here. I am one half of your host, Ray, and of course, here with me, he is going to score us a sweet hair product sponsorship one day, and he grew up in the woods. Everybody say hello to TDK. How you doing, man?
I don't know, crew? What's a good pomade? Who can sponsor our podcast?
I'll let you choose. You're the expert. Today's guest is a proud recipient of a 2025 Grammy, as well as two-time Latin Grammy winner. He and his incredible family jam band have made their mark as faces of Kindie music. He is also the award-winning author of a couple of best-selling and critically acclaimed books. My family's favorite and my personal favorite is Paletero Man. Everybody say hello to my boy Lucky Diaz. How you doing, man?
Buenas noches. I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm a fan of your podcast. I love your show. So I was honored to be here, and thanks for asking me to do it. Just bring back lots of memories for video gaming, family time, being a kid, like all of it.
Yeah, last time we hung out, you started talking to me about the podcast. Threw me off a bit, like, oh, he plays video games. This changes everything.
It's funny because my wife didn't know that she married a super geek when she married me. Everything from Star Wars, Star Trek, gaming, like all of this stuff that I don't really get to touch on that much anymore. It's still something that I love so much. When I listen to you guys talk, I feel like I connect on so many different levels. Manhood, gaming, just life. It brought back a lot of memories, like even looking at the show prep questionnaire and stuff, like, oh, gaming moments. Because you had that fancy Game Boy. I never had any of that stuff. My brother had a Game Boy, though. I always lusted over it. I always wanted it.
Your brother didn't share?
I have a twin brother. He is cooler than me. He always liked the cool bands. He always liked the cool games. He was into Street Fighter, into Mortal Kombat. We'd go to the arcade game. And people don't know about stacking quarters anymore. That's like a thing that doesn't really happen. I mean, I don't hang out at arcades as an adult man, but like as a kid, you'd go to the arcade and you would stack. I was telling my wife about this. She didn't understand it.
You could maybe take the example of a billiards hall. I got next on the pool.
That's it. That's the vibe. People don't really understand that was a thing. And so my wife was trying to understand this concept. Then when your quarter came up, you were in. But I had a moment where my brother and I were going head to head, playing Mortal Kombat. Now that I think about it, it could have been Street Fighter, and I beat him. I was a big moment. I was at the mall. I was like, yeah, how you like me now? know?
That's when you announce your retirement from Street Fighter forever.
It never happened again. Because he was
he
was so good at that game. And I remember being like, oh, yeah, I beat you, bro. But that was it. And then we got on the bus and went home.
Was your brother a good sport about it?
He's kind of nonchalant that it didn't even faze him. He's like, yeah, whatever.
He knew he was the best.
Yeah, he knew he was better than me. But he had a Game Boy, and he wasn't playing those junky games. He wasn't playing Tetris. No offense to Tetris, but he was playing legit games. Asteroid, Zelda. I'm from a generation that was a big deal, having an NES. We didn't get it for Christmas. I don't know how we got one. In your show prep, you're like, how did gaming fit into your life? I mean, being in a Mexican-American household, my dad thought gaming was a waste of time. We had an NES console, and then we had graduated to a Sega, and that was a big deal for us, We rode the wheels off our NES, and we had all the games like Asteroid and Zelda, all the classic games, right? And I mentioned Knight Rider, which is an odd, weird game, but I remember being on a 3-day bender playing that game, and I can't even remember what it even looks like. But I remember by the time we got to Genesis, I was on to other things, I don't know, playing music or something. But I did play a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog. I love that game. I think kids now are kind of desensitized to awe. When I saw Mario Kart, I was a teenager and I was like, what in the world is happening? Because it was a first three-dimensional kind of experience. Totally. It changed the whole landscape of gaming. My friend had a computer console with Wolfenstein. And I love killing Nazis in any format. But the fact that it was a three-dimensional game, I was so shocked and awed by it.
Unheard of in that era.
Unheard of. But now Grand Theft Auto is a whole other world, man. And I'm awed by that stuff. When I see it, I'm just like, whoa. But now these kids are like, blah, blah, blah. I don't even care.
Do you show them the stuff that you grew up with? So Ray and I have been talking a lot. You just saw my little guy, and he just kind of figured out Street Fighter. I've never shown him Fortnite. He doesn't even know what that is. Right. As far as he's concerned, it only goes to Super Nintendo, and it stops out there,
We have two girls. We have a 21 plus year old in her last year of college, and we have a 10-year-old. That 12-year difference is a lot. But with Ella, we had got a Wii console. She got to experience gaming like that. And it was a renaissance of gaming for me because I was like, oh, I remember just having so much fun escaping and gaming. And I was totally, as an adult, just like awed by the Wii. I was awed by the design of the console, awed by the user experience. And to me, I'm surprised that it's like not really around anymore. It's around in its like ideas, and the technology is around in like the Switch. The Switch
is an evolution of the Wii.
But it's not as beautiful, though.
I think Ray disagrees with that.
Well, I will say that the Wii, because of how novel it was at the time, it was a beautiful moment. Not just gaming, dude, for pop culture. Yeah, everyone was playing the Wii.
Doesn't it feel like the Wii was that console that brought adults back to gaming? Well,
yes.
I know a ton of adults who were like Nintendo kids or Sega kids, but they weren't necessarily PlayStation and Xbox people. And then the Wii comes out, and all of a sudden, somebody's grandpa is playing Wii tennis or Wii racing, and it was like a whole new kind of thing that entered the lexicon. Like, it wasn't just gamers, it was within pop culture.
100%. It was a cultural phenomenon. And to add to what you just said, I went into this deep dive with her. I had to have all the consoles.
So you started with Wii, and then that led you to PlayStation?
Got PlayStation, got an Xbox. I was not interested in the Xbox. I'm like a design geek, so like to me that user experience is better. I'm not like an Android user. I'm not a Microsoft person.
Because you got back into gaming with the Wii, I think what you did is went from a Wii to a PS3, and then you got on that track. I've never heard anybody talk about Xbox and PlayStation as if it's PC and a Mac. You know what I mean? However, I think that's a pretty accurate correlation. That's a good comparison. Except PCs are so lame. And Xbox, in the generation right before you're talking about, Xbox was winning, right? It wasn't PC. It was way cooler. Right when you got back into it, Xbox kind of took a dive, and then PlayStation just excelled, and it never stopped, right? To the point where now it's not.
Yeah, what is it now? If I went to go buy a console, which I might, I think that this podcast is actually lighting a fire for me to be like, you know what? We don't have a console in this house. I need that. I've always been with you. You know, I'm like the wayward son, you know, I've just been distracted. If you were to advise someone today getting one console, what's the console? Is it the Xbox? Is it the PlayStation? What iteration are they on?
PS5.
PS5.
Yeah. 5.5 if you go with the Pro.
And how much is the PS5? I'm just curious.
So I'd be so curious for your guess.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know. I'm thinking $800 to $1,200. I don't know, $1,000. Is that what the PS costs?
You're in for a bargain, my friend.
Spoken like a Grammy winner.
I mean, I'm just taking a wild stab at it. What is it? I'm just really curious.
We're like $750, right? Like we're
like
in the sevens.
I think for PS5, not Pro, PS5, I think it's like $450.
I mean, if you buy a PlayStation 5 right now, you should get a Pro.
I have two different kinds of friends. I have my best guy friend, Craig, is like the kind of guy that's like, buy it once, that's it. So he's like the dude like I go to, like, which one am I going to buy? Because he's not buying 10 pairs of jeans. He's buying the jean. And then I got the friend that's like, never buys the one he really wants. He just comes up short. And then he always talks trash about the fact that he didn't get that one.
Yeah, he's always kicking himself.
Yeah.
100%.
You notice how you have these two friends, one of which you named, and the one of which shall remain nameless. And there's a reason you did that.
He is right, and he's good at spending his money and other people's money, but your suggestion was a super Craig move. Just buy the one. Don't get the one that you're going to outgrow really fast. Here's my other question. Do people buy actual tangible games, or do you download these games? What is the experience like now? I mean,
I think we're in a bit of a collector's era.
I'm a physical guy, and I have like all my PS4 games, and I have every console I've ever had in the garage. I've come to this realization recently. I could buy the disc, and then I got to put the disc in, and then it's got to download from the internet all the parts of the game that aren't on the disc. What am I really buying? I'm just buying a thing that makes me feel good because it's like in my room on my closet.
Yeah, but that's vibe though, man. That's the idea. Ray knows this because he's been over here, but I'm like remodeling my studio. But in doing so, I've sold a lot of gear, loads and loads of guitars, and I had like a guitar problem. I'm a collector by nature, and so like had to fill every single spot. And I also had to be the guy that's like, hey, do you happen to have like a mid-60s Rickenbacker, blah, blah? I'm like, yeah, I got 3 of them. You want one? That was like not a good thing. And so like, and I recently made a decision like, you know what? I am not using these things. I'm going to sell them just because it wasn't serving anyone. and that kind of stuff should be serving people. I think that it's really cool to collect stuff. So I get the idea, the thing. It brings you joy, doesn't it? Like when you get it, it's in your hands. You see the packaging. Sometimes the packaging was special. You open it, you read it, you feel it, you put it in. That whole like ceremony is so special.
To both of your questions, what console should you get and should you buy physical or digital? I'm with you. I'm that guy too. Like we have other episodes about physical media. If you looked behind me, there's like 1,000 vinyl. You know what I mean? There's record players.
Nice. You got VHS?
I don't have VHS, but tons of vinyl, tons of like actual books. When it comes to gaming, we're on the precipice of a different world a little bit, and it does depend on what kind of gamer you are. If you're a gamer that's like, I love indie, I love this kind of nostalgic thing, because if you love that, you don't really need the power of a PS5, right? And the Switch is something that's so convenient, and you can take everywhere you go.
But it's so small though, right?
It just screens to your TV. And you have an 11-year-old, right? So it's like, what kind of games do you want to play with your kid? Also, if you're also that gamer, they don't release those games on physical media. It's not like every game is released on physical media. Maybe if it becomes the game of the year.
A lot of game developers don't have the budget to release a game physically, and so they go straight to digital and keep it
Hold on a second. So are there like indie developers? That's wild, man.
It's the most artistic time ever in games.
2025 saw a huge uptick in the quality and quantity of indie games. People that left major publishers and made their own games and won Game of the Year and sold millions of copies. A really good year for gaming last year because of indie developers.
That's amazing. Like, what do companies like Bethesda and EA, what's the response to that? I'm so curious because like coming like in the music business, the label model is so dead. I used to work at a label. Everyone that I know that worked there is gone, save for a few people. It doesn't serve an artist to be on a label much these days. It takes a lot of money to develop an artist and break them, probably a couple $1 million. But the world's different. You can have a kid in Ohio just post something to SoundCloud. Chapel Roan is actually a great example of that. She did have really crappy label deals, and the labels still have access to marketing money, right? So they're a big bank anyways. I'm fascinated. I didn't know that this was actually happening.
Happy to educate you to the best of my ability. 2 years ago, there was a game called Animal Well, made by one person. Worked on it for I think 5 to 6 years all by himself. They partnered and they helped connect him to like press and getting the word out there about the game. But this one person made Animal Well all by himself, and it got a lot of traction. And that was my game of 2024 and a lot of people's game of 2024.
Sorry to sound dumb, but you could just like download this thing.
To download it on my Switch in like 20 seconds. And it's one of the biggest, most awesome games I've played.
I'm actually taking away from this podcast episode, since I'm remodeling and I'm actually putting in a television into my studio space. I'm going to get a console. Trevor, I'm going to take your advice, and I'm not going to get the horse-powered big old PS that I can put in a credenza because you're saying I don't really need it.
To your question, though, earlier about what does Bethesda or what does EA do in this new world, I want to be transparent about my own opinions. These bigger studios now, they're basically shepherds of one or two IP. So like if you're EA, you're the sports company. Or if you're Naughty Dog, for the last 10 years, you've pretty much just made Last of Us content. You remade The Last of Us, you remade The Last of Us 2, you did it over and over and over, you made an HBO show. If you just want to play Marvel's Spider-Man, Fallout, Tomb Raider, that's going to be PS5. I'm actually that guy. If I want to play nostalgia, I'll just go to the garage and pipe in my actual old games, right? I'm more of like, give me the breadth of...
So when you go, though, playing an old platform, since you have all that available to you, how often do you like go and pull one of those out, even to show your son, right? Because that's a fun thing. I think you said this earlier, kind of curating what your kids get to see or experience. They can see the magic of like an 8-bit game.
My wife and I used it as like a fun kind of wind down thing for years and years before we had kids. So we just had the Super Nintendo in the living room. Of course I still had a PS3 or whatever it was at the time, and I would play my games, but her and I would play together as more of a social bonding thing. And then now I don't do it as like a back in my day type of thing. I just be like, hey, do you want to check out what video games are? It's fun.
That's an excellent point. He doesn't really know what time it comes from at all.
No, the frequency is dictated by him, which is really cool because I don't force it on him. I kind of just let him have a taste. And so we tried Mario Kart and he liked it, and we played it a couple times, but it didn't click. And then I was like, I'm going to try Street Fighter, and it clicked. Within 10 minutes is Hadoukening me.
Wait, who's his character on Street Fighter? I think that says a lot about someone.
He's 5. Don't judge him too hard. He's a shaggy blonde kid, so he's a Ken.
Cobra Kai never dies, bro.
He's so Cobra Kai.
You know what?
And then I got the hair, so I'm Guile. He's Ken, I'm Guile, and we just go for it.
Dude, that's like, again, one of those great games. It's such a classic. Think about like even the staging of the game, right? Like it's kind of like the Tyson one.
Punch Out?
dude, it's just like, come on, man. My daughter had a Girl Scout thing at one of those jumpy warehouse things where they have like an
Right.
arcade in it and stuff. And I was like, oh, great. And I got on a couple of consoles, started playing some games. My daughter was like, what the hell's happening right now? How are you good at this? What is going on? It's like bringing back a lot of memories now because one, she didn't really know what time it came from. And then secondly, I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe you should like get a couple of arcade consoles at our house. And my wife's like, what is going on? But then I found out, and you already know this, but you can get a console with it's got like 30 games in it or something. We'll license to 25 games and you can put it in, some have 3 or whatever, and they're all over like Marketplace.
Ray, who was the friend you had on the pod? He built his own kind of retro-inspired game console, and
Yeah,
he like, mounted it to the wall. It was so cool.
There's one that's like, I saw that's like $3,000 or something. I mean, that's a chunk of money for me, but like, it's this beautiful white console thing. You mount it to the wall. Like, of course, if I mounted it, it would just like fall off the wall. Oh man, if I had a space for that. It got me to thinking about getting one of those. And then like, you know, when all my daughter's friends come over, they could just be like, just having such, because I love like coin op stuff. My wife is super forgiving, but if it wasn't for my wife, I think my room would look like Silver Spoons. It would just be like video game consoles, maybe a train running through the house. Like, you know, you get on. I think I'm just internally 12 years old. That's
It'd
like
be
my
the
problem.
movie Blank Check with like a slide out to a pool.
Dude, I haven't heard of that movie in ages. I'm going to go back to that. I wonder how that aged. But yeah, knock out the front window, put like a slide that goes to like the street. I don't know, man. It would just be kind of like pandemonium. I'm like the kid with the Ferrari poster on his wall.
Your bed is shaped like a car.
Oh, man. I never had one of those. I used to go to the bed store and they'd be like,
I know.
Man,
I had a cousin. I was like, whoa.
get that Testarossa, bro. You know what I mean? You know, we talked about like you buy the games, like that kind of tactile experience of going to the arcade and hitting the machine. And it smells a certain way. And the handle gets a little greasy and weird. Yeah. And like, I think that's what at the heart of it. The human experience of gaming is what's so really kind of fun and beautiful, right? I think that's what's exciting about what you all are doing because it's just fun to talk about gaming. And yeah, there's podcasts about anything you like, but you know, your two perspectives are really interesting and I can align with those thoughts. Trying to wrangle your kid and also trying to make stuff and also trying to play game, like that sense of like wonder, which I hope that kids can still participate in just being in awe. Man, there was nothing really better than being enthralled in a game and not seeing daylight for like 3 days.
That's what it's all about, man.
You know what I mean? Being like, I mean, I can't even tell the last time I even slept more than 5 hours. Not because I was gaming though, but there's something really magical about that kind of experience and being like, man, if I just have 6 more hours on this thing, man, I'm going to crack the thing. I'm going to like, hi-ya, the whole thing is done. We're looking for that, right? I think
that sense of magic is why we're all here right now, is because that wonder and that awe is the thing we're looking back on and kind of trying to rekindle in our lives. Or like, in my case, I'm trying to foster it in a new 5-10-year-old, right? No matter what they're having wonder or awe about, it almost doesn't matter at all. It matters that they have it and that they can look back on it and kind of foster that for their own.
I'm a little older than you all, but when I was growing up, all of us didn't even have a console. So we had to go to the house that somebody had. I remember my friend David had a Sega Genesis. We all kind of had that friend that had like divorced parents, and man, that dude had all of them.
You're right. More importantly, it wasn't like not everybody wanted to buy it. It's like not everyone's parents would buy them both consoles.
Oh man, It was like a big, I remember my neighbor he was a divorced parents kid. His parents were always like feuding, so he'd like end up with all the stuff. Yeah, you'd go around to houses. Like, do kids really do that anymore? Do they like crowd around one console, or do they just stay in their own rooms and play virtually against each other? Like, how does it work now?
It's a 2-player game. Like, it's fun to play it on the couch with someone. That's how I played my games, and
yeah,
it's just way more fun to be
talking
next
trash,
to that person.
Like doing the whole thing.
I do think there's a good section of kids though who are in their room alone, but they're fully plugged into their own community. They have friends who they meet every day. They talk to those people. They are talking trash for sure. And I'm sure we just don't get it. It's like if our parents would have been like, why are they sitting next to each other playing the same game, not talking to each other? They should be fishing. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we're just doing the same thing the people ahead of us did. The cool thing now is like if you have a PS5 or a PS4 or even like a Switch, all the controllers are cordless, right? Like they're like remotes. Like you don't need a cord, which if we were kids and you didn't need a cord, how cool would that have been? Right? If you didn't have to sit 6 inches from the TV.
Right, we were literally destined for bad eyesight.
Here's the thing with the Switch, like I need to get past generationally. It's so tiny. I know that you can cast it on the screen. That part I got. It's not like a sizable console that you hook up. I'm admitting that it's old-fashioned thinking. I'm just saying that like I think of it as just a handheld where it's not that at all.
Whenever you get a really good-looking video game and you just compress it down to this tiny screen, it looks
Of course.
good, man. It looks
Looks great,
really
yeah.
pretty. So
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna prices right this now. So a Switch is $600. How much is a Switch?
the retail price for a Nintendo Switch 2 is about $500.
However,
Do you
Price
get-
is Right rules. You went over. Sorry.
No. I admittedly, right, that's it. You needed that. My wife was on The Price is Right once, and she did not win. She was actually picked. She lied because she had heard like you can't tell them that you're an actor or like you live locally or whatever. So she made up this whole narrative that she's from the Midwest. My wife's beautiful, so like they were like, yeah, of course, I'll put you on camera, right? She's like you, Trevor. You guys are just like pretty people.
Yeah, what's that
you
like,
just
Trevor?
When I met my wife, all of her friends are like Amber Crombie and Finch, like real ones. They all look like you guys.
Lucky, anytime
Anyways.
you want to come on this podcast, you should come on, dude. It's totally
No,
fine.
but you're the kind of people that like Ralph Lauren likes to put white shirts on. You know what I mean? Like you're the guy. My wife is like this, so she's beautiful to look at. So of course they call her up, and my wife is like so good at calling out the price. I'm like, hey, I got these beans at Trader Joe's today. Well, those were $1.39 or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, how'd you know? You get her on The Price is Right, bailed.
Oh,
Nothing.
no.
I would have just said it's $1. That's what I would have played. It's $1.
$1, Bob.
you.
And
Thank
then the
you.
person
Like,
next to
$1.
you looks at you so angry.
Yeah,
they give you
yeah,
the look.
every
But like,
time,
what are you supposed
every
to do?
time.
And again, Ray, that's not taking away from your good looks. But Trevor here, he's more of a Grey's Anatomy kind of vibe. Like, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
really
he's gonna,
appreciate
he's
it.
Gonna be,
Whatever I had going for me, I probably am evening it out being on a video game nostalgia podcast, just showing the world my true self.
I had to knock you down a couple pegs, so I invited you
Thanks,
to be my
Ray.
co-host.
but $5, hold on. But if you're paying $5 for a Switch, can you upgrade and get like one that's like more powerful for more money, or that's the entry level, or
All
is
right,
just
so
one?
I love how this episode is kind of turned into like Trevor trying to sell you a PS5 and me trying to sell you a Switch. So allow me to.
Hey, hold on a second. People want to know this though, and
Yeah,
maybe
you're
that
right.
hasn't been done. And maybe your listeners and viewers haven't touched on this because I watch a lot of YouTube videos. You have fans, listeners, viewers that want to know, like, what should I get into? Maybe they're just like me. Maybe they just haven't been back home for a while. And you're like, you know what, man? I'm going to get back into this. And it's a good thing. And especially in these times that everything is so drastic in the world, like everything is so full on that like maybe we just need non-gamers like myself, former gamers, I should say, and being like, hey, I'm going to get back into it. So what would be the best way to go about that? I mean, sorry to hijack that thought about like, oh, what should I buy?
It's kind of like a bit of a buyer's guide episode, and I'm all about it, man.
All right, Ray, sell it to us.
All right, so here we go. So the Switch 2 just came out 6-7 months ago. This is the upgrade to the original Switch console. It is way more powerful to the point we were making earlier about like how are we going to awe people in the modern generation of gaming, right? I think the Switch does this thing where they're not trying to go up. They're always going sideways, doing something a little, a little off the ball. Like the Wii. They weren't worried about the graphical power of their console. They were just, is it fun? And I think Nintendo is always asking the question, is it fun? If you're just wanting to jump into a game and have a fun time, yes, there won't be many great storylines. The graphics aren't going to blow your mind every time. But at the same time, the Switch 2 is able to run some newer modern games releasing day and date with PlayStation 5, like Resident Evil 9, this new game called Pragmata, which I downloaded the demo for on the Switch 2, which like blew my mind. I'm like, dude, I cannot believe this game is running on this like tablet. Pretty impressive.
Not zero great storylines. Arguably two of the best of all time, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
What's the counterpoint to this then?
Let's just pause real quick because Ray said something really interesting about games. When we were kids, when you're talking about big leaps between regular Nintendo and Sega Genesis and then Super Nintendo and Sega Saturn, and you could kind of do this ladder thing, right? We all knew 8-bit, 16-bit, 64, you know what I mean? Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
And now
for sure.
we're at a place where I think PlayStation, there's this whole kind of conversation happening with, are they going to do a PlayStation 6? If so, why? And if they do it, is it just a money grab where they have to actually migrate this whole group of people who already own the hardware for PS4 and PS5 over to PS6, even though it's not really going to look any different on these same TVs that we all have that are kind of running as high as our human eye and human brain can really process? At what point is it just them milking us for more money? And statistically, there's millions and millions of people in the world who play PlayStation currently on Fortnite and Rocket League and whatever the new games that come out. But the vast majority of those millions are still playing PS4 because they didn't really need to go to PS5 because it still looks incredible. And so the incremental benefit is just so minor. So what Ray is saying that Nintendo did that's really, really smart is they were like, you know what, we're not even going to play that game. We're going to go this direction, and we're going to give you portability. We're going to be able to play it on the couch, in bed, in the backseat of the car, on the bus, and it's going to be just as good as like, you know, a PS3 Plus or a regular PS4, which still looks incredible. It's just a whole different value proposition. For me, ultimately, I get stuck in the experience of the IP. I want to play as Lara Croft, as Nathan Drake. I'm more of a story-driven gamer, so I really want to feel like I'm basically just watching a movie and I'm directing a film as I'm experiencing it. Whereas Ray is dominating his opponent with his superior skill set. And I really think it comes down to that. Like, what type of gamer are you? What are you going to use this for?
I too love story sagas. I can align with that thought. Like you said, I think you just nailed it. It's just like, it depends on what it is. You both raised like some really interesting points about the experience of it, right? Like, oh, is it fun? Like maybe that's the value proposition, which also then leads to how cool Japanese culture is, and like that introduction of Japanese culture via Nintendo or even gaming, period. As a kid growing up in California, like the internet didn't exist. I would gather to say the first time I ever saw a Tokyo was like on Street Fighter or a racing game. One of these games where you're just like picking tracks. I don't know. I'm like walking away from this discussion being like, oh, both of these things are cool. And you know what? Maybe I'll get both. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Like maybe that's overkill. Yeah, like I don't need that kind of horsepower, right? That's my problem, I think, with almost anything, is that like I go so full in. It's like not a good idea. That's why I don't, you know what I mean? Like
you can't make the wrong decision. You're going to have a blast either way. Make a pros and cons list. Are you trying to play alone after everyone goes to bed? Are you trying to play with your kid? Are you playing like multiplayer? Are you playing single player?
So like kicks, what is it? Mother approved, kid approved. What's the kicks? Is it the Nintendo?
It's Nintendo all day.
It's Nintendo all day.
Their games are made for families. Yes, I'll enjoy the games, but my kids can play them too. I will say, when our first daughter was born, it was around the same time the Switch came out and Zelda came out on launch day with it. What a time. Of course, I was home, but to have this guy at the ready to just grab and pick right back up where you were on your grand adventure playing Zelda was pretty awesome, dude.
To have something to do while that baby is just sleeping on your chest, like
I will forever link my time with Noah with The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
I think that's really cool.
But is Zelda the greatest game of all time? Is it the best game of all time? Okay, like the Beatles are arguably the greatest band of all time,
right?
Like, you know, give or take. I mean, again, I'm a huge Beatles fan. There's no doubt that like the Beatles set up an archetype that formed everything that came after them. We wouldn't have boy bands without the Beatles. We wouldn't have rock bands in the same format.
That was such a wonderful comparison, and I agree wholeheartedly. Zelda is the Beatles. The Beatles put together the blueprint and wrote some of the greatest songs in the history of time. Other artists cover some of those Beatles songs more memorably. There are better versions of these Beatles songs. So Zelda lays down the blueprint, and every game following it for the next 3-4 years, every game is trying to do the thing that Zelda just did.
I think we're talking about different genres. I don't necessarily think it's Beatles or Stones. I think they're completely different genres. Almost like saying Elvis or Frank Sinatra. And Beatles and Stones, one of those is pop and one of those is rock.
The Stones are a great band, no doubt. Their songs are never going to be the Beatles.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I agree. The Beatles are a band made up of superstars. They couldn't exist as a band for very long because they're all superstars. So you don't really get the ultimate band. The ultimate music, maybe, and I agree, I love the Beatles. The Stones are the best band in the world because they could only ever achieve that incredible thing they achieved together, never individually. I stole this from a great friend named Benjamin Montoya. He's a music guru, but I'm a big Beatles guy. I'm a big Stones guy. I'm actually wearing a Stone shirt. Ultimately, truthfully, Mick Jagger by himself probably doesn't do it, but Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood and Charlie Watts together, because Charlie Watts is probably the best jazz drummer in the world, but he doesn't drum for jazz. He jazz drums in the best rock and roll band in the world. And the Beatles, towards the end, were just solo artists with solo songs on the same album. All right, this one's a Paul song, this one's a John song. Yeah. I would say, like, yes, there are moments where Zelda and Nintendo, the genius of the single experience, is great. But if you want to talk about the cinematic narrative, I don't think anything with Zelda ever touches the first hour of The Last of Us. You want to talk about weeping in a video game, and it's different, you know, it's not one-to-one, and you're talking about different console generations and truly different experiences. But as a father, if you sit down and you play The Last of Us and you go through that, you aren't playing a game, you're experiencing a story. And that story could be in a novel and you could be reading the first person, or it could be in a comic book and you could be kind of watching and filling in the gaps, or it could be in a video game. It doesn't matter the medium of which you're experiencing, but the important part about that game is the narrative of the story. It's not really the game. Whereas Zelda is more of a game, and Nintendo makes games and PlayStation makes story experiences.
I totally get it. And I'd agree. The Beatles clearly had proven, like, subsequently that each of them was just as strong on their own.
Each of their solo albums after the Beatles are also masterpieces.
I guess if you look at the format of the band, the organism of the band, the body couldn't exist without the organs in it. Ron Wood is like the liver, and, you know...
I don't know if anybody in the Stones could be the liver. There's no way that liver is surviving.
The liver came to mind because, you know, the Stones. What kind of world are we going to leave Keith Richards? That's really what we should be asking ourselves right now, because that guy's going to live forever.
I love the Beatles Stones in the context of
Zelda,
Nintendo Sega. Yeah, that's so apt.
To quickly put my nail down into it, Zelda is, to me, the best game ever. However, it is not my favorite game ever, but I do recognize it as being the greatest of all time in terms of its influence and what it has done for the industry as a whole with every iteration.
Thanks for answering that, Rick. I guess, to me, thinking about, like, how influential, I guess, Zelda is, and I really kind of appreciate the storytelling part of it. Like, actually now leaving this conversation being like, hey, you know what? I'm going to think about what the Sony offering is about the storytelling and look at it from a new perspective as a creative and an artist myself. I haven't given that much thought to this format of art. Thanks to you both, I'm be like, I'm going to look at it in different ways. Storytelling, fun, you know, both of those things. And sometimes those things live together at the same in the same place.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's where I guess maybe that's really where the magic happens.
That's what you want, right? That's where
that's the sweet spot.
You said format of art, and I really think that's true. I think a lot of people, especially in our generation or older, think it's like video games. Like, there's a connotation of waste of time, and I don't think of it all that different than books, podcasts, comic books, movies,
100%.
video games. It's a medium to tell stories. That's it.
I love that. And I think that, like, that's something that's really super cool that I'm going to walk away from. I appreciate you letting me be on your podcast and, like, just hanging out and just being friends. Hopefully one day I can come back. You know what? Be a great part 2 when I buy a console and spend some time with it. And then
hell yeah.
Let's do it.
And then we could do the buyer's guide, you know, 6 months in or whatever, like a year later. How do I feel about
1 week from today, when your obsession takes over and your house turns into an arcade?
That's the problem, Ray. I can't afford another obsession.
Lucky, before we go, is there anything you'd like to plug, anything you're working on, or something that you'd like to share that you're excited about?
I have a new edition of one of my books coming out in April called Fix It Familia, but it's like the Spanish and English version. It's available where books are sold via HarperCollins. And then I got a new Tony figurine. Your son actually might like this, Trevor. It's like a little figurine. They're figurines. Like, you can get like Woody and the princesses and all that stuff. Oh, this is what it looks like. It's like a little guy.
Yeah.
And you put it, and it's got a near field chip in it, and you put it on your player and it plays music. This one plays music, our music. And they make the figurines, and you can buy them at Target or Walmart or wherever toys are sold, Amazon, I guess. I don't know. People want to go look me up on social media, but I do have my own toy, which I think is such a trip. I'm going to order like 100 of them because they'll be discontinued. And you're like, oh, you know, one time I was a toy. So maybe my grandkids will be like, hey, Grandpa was a toy once? That's wild.
Sure, Grandpa.
Let's get you to bed. You mean that you used to play video games in 8-bit? Okay.
It was awesome having you, man. I know you got to go, but thank you so much for making the time and hanging out. And hopefully our conversation has aided you, and you will be a proud owner of a Nintendo Switch in the coming weeks.
Yeah. I'll send Trevor the invoice for the PS.
We'll expense it. It's no big deal.
You both need like endorsements from like Sony and Nintendo.
We're climbing the ladder. We're starting at hair product and we're working our way up. We're gonna get there.
What a callback, Ray.
Oh man, that is a good one.
Lucky, it was great to meet you, man. It was a really fun
conversation. Yeah, likewise. Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Doppelgang, thank you so much for hanging out. We will see you at the next one. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Hey everybody, it's Ray here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning into the Dire Past Level podcast. If you want to hang out and join us for the next episode, make sure to like and subscribe. That way you're notified when our next episode releases. If you really, really, really liked it, you'd do us a solid if you left us a review. Reviews are a great way to spread the word about our podcast, and the more gamers to share these stories with, the better. All right, we'll see you next week. Have a good one. There we go.